All right, everyone, welcome back to another pre-match Toffee Blues live stream. Made up to say that I'm joined again by David from the County Road Bobblers. If you haven't heard of them, they're the guys who did the Moise Keane banner. Done a lot of stuff recently. Really big on Twitter as well. So make sure you go check out Dave before we get into it, because they do some really good work over there. Definitely go check them out. We've got Paul joining us as well as always, but Dave, we're just going to talk pretty much about tonight's game before the team comes out. We've got a few minutes. You confident for tonight?
You've got to be confident, haven't you? If we're not confident, we can't expect the team to be. But Southampton are a team that have been in free fall. I know that sometimes comes back to haunt us. But yeah, we've got to be winning these games if we're serious about being in that top pack. We're still there and thereabouts, but I think we mentioned just before we came on air there, Steve, but it's a huge week for us, and if we can get a win and 6 points, 3 points today and 3 points against West Brom, ultimately the table looks a lot different, and I think it changes our perception from the outside as well, with people looking in.
Definitely, mate, and as you said there, it's a massive week coming up. There's West Brom away coming up as well. Obviously, these are two winnable games, so we should be relatively confident. Southampton have not been very good recently. West Brom are falling like a stone, even though they got a win against Brighton. But, we should be confident. We need to be. If we're going to be up there and thereabouts, then we need to bring that sort of confidence into these sort of games and just win them. But we have been struggling in these games so far, haven't we?
Yeah, it's, I think we are coming to a good moment, though. We've got Richarlison that ultimately, hasn't really had that run of form, and all of a sudden he looks a bit happier. I know his cousins have all of a sudden come over from Brazil and they're back living with him. So he does seem to have picked up since that's happened. I think it's a good moment for us to be playing at the moment. We've got a lot of players fit, bar Yerry Mina, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be winning convincingly tonight.
Well, there was like the picture of him, wasn't there? I don't know if you've seen it, of him in Crosby with his Everton shorts on, walking his dog around the beach, which gave me and my dad a good laugh. That was a good one, that. Hello to Erwin Koeman, who's back in the stream. Thanks for joining me. Semi-Charm Life is back in as well. Thanks for joining the stream, mate. Good to have you in, supporting us tonight. What sort of team would you like to see just before it comes out, Dave? Because obviously we've got a couple of minutes until team news, which is, going to be big. So what sort of team do you want to see tonight? Because I've seen a couple being banded about. Is it, keeping that team that beat Liverpool last weekend? Maybe not. What sort of team do you think?
It's also for courses, isn't it? We've got a lot of games coming thick and fast, and although we'd like to keep that settled side, I don't think it's possible. Allan's obviously back in contention, and I think at some stage it's got to give, because he's a top quality player. It's just credit to Tom Davies that he hasn't gone straight into the team already. But I'd like to see us win that midfield battle. So I think we need steel in that midfield. I think we need to work harder than them. And if we win there and keep a bit of a threat up front with Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin a bit higher, if that team is true, I think we'd have a good chance of winning today. Southampton are missing Romeo as well. He's a fantastic athletic player in that midfield. So that should help our cause as well. So I think if we can win that midfield, especially with him out the equation, it gives us every chance there and keeping that threat up top.
Yeah, he's a massive player for Southampton as well, Romeo, and everything that they do that's good, he seems to have some sort of say in it, doesn't he? He's like, whether it's putting in a game-winning tackle, getting a tap in at the back post or something like that, being the captain or whatever it is, he seems to have some sort of role in Southampton that makes them tick. So that is a big miss for them tonight. Danny Ings is obviously the one that's going to trouble us most, because he always seems to love playing against Everton as well, even with his time at Liverpool. So he's one that will be, we'll be looking out for. I think he scored in this fixture last season as well. So big game tonight. Hello to Stephen Thomas, says 2-1 to Everton tonight. I hope so. If we can keep a clean sheet as well, that'd be massive, because clean sheet last week. We need to go on a run of form now. If we can keep a clean sheet tonight and then go into West Brom and maybe keeping a clean sheet there, we know how good the away form is. I think that would do a lot for the confidence as well, especially for the defence. And if we can get that defence, that back line, Dave, just playing their best football, it's going to be tough to break them down, isn't it?
It is. One thing that we're going to have to be careful of, obviously, Southampton like to really put us under pressure, right up the pitch. Danny Ings, you've mentioned already, he's a lot faster than people give him credit for when he's closing you down. Quite often, he kind of chases the centre halves into mistakes and putting the ball out. So I think, we did go slightly more direct at the weekend. It was obviously a tactic against Liverpool. The fake Klopp that we're playing tonight, Hasselhoff, likes to play a similar style. So I think, it's a consideration for us again, maybe to play a slightly longer game. And if we have got them two forwards in the team, then I think that would be a good game plan. And, it saves Ings being able to put that pressure on us and force mistakes. I don't know if the team's just come out, has it? Yeah. Sorry, Ste, I don't know if it's yourself or mine. I can't hear the volume. The volume seems to have gone on the stream.
Sorry, mate. I accidentally muted myself there on the stream. I'll read it out to you. Pickford, Holgate, Keane, Godfrey, Dean, Allan, Decore, Gomez, Sigurdsson, Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin. Looks to me, like a back four with Holgate at right back.
Yeah, no, it's the team that seems to be in league, doesn't it? That 4-4-2 diamonds.
Yeah, it seems like that. Decore maybe on the right, as you said to me off camera. Gomez on the left with Sigurdsson in the middle. Good to see Allan back in there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's been hard, because the Tom has played really well, but we can't forget the quality Allan brings. Allan's a real top quality operator. I felt like when we bought Allan, it was Carlo Ancelotti bringing his kind of man onto the pitch, that enforcer that knows what to knows what Carlo expects. And I think he ultimately he is our engine room, isn't he? He brings that steel. So it's good to see him back there, and something that he doesn't get credit for enough, I don't think. Just before he got injured in December, he was quite high up in terms of taking players on one-on-one in dribbles from that midfield. And, he does get his head up and try and, he's got the confidence to bring the ball out of midfield as well. And he doesn't really get that credit at times because he's seen more of an enforcer. But, he's a top quality operator. So it'll be great to see him back in that side tonight.
As well, as we mentioned there, it looks like it could be like a diamond sort of formation. Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up front. I'd love to see Richarlison more central as he played against Liverpool, because he was central in that game and he seemed to be the focal point and obviously got the goal a few minutes in. So massive player for us and seems to be coming back into the form. He's spoken a bit about how much Ancelotti has influenced him. Good to see those two up front together, isn't it? And hopefully, hopefully Richarlison isn't sort of pushed out to the wing. What have you made of that this season? You like to see him central or?
Yeah, I think that, the higher up we get him, not necessarily always central, but if we get him higher up the field, I think that's where he's most effective. Certainly towards the start of the season, he was getting a lot more central coming in off the left. There was a couple of games where James was able to play, to play that switch over the back line, and Richarlison was almost in round the back. He has been a lot deeper. I don't know if that's the intent, we've lost a few players. But yeah, no, the higher up we get him, we all know that he's a top quality finisher. And that's where he does his best work. He's a hard worker and he does seem to have his tail up again. He seems to be back in. And let's have it straight, although he hasn't been, in the greatest of form, he still scored 4 league goals from the wing, and ultimately he's got 10 goals this season as well. So he's still scoring the goals. But I'd like to see a target for him now. He's 14 games left in the Premier League. I'd like to see him get 7 and look at 11, 11 Premier League goals, which I think 1 and 2 for him, as we get players back, is certainly achievable, especially in the form that we've seen him in recently.
Yeah, and he's one that we just like to see him do well, isn't he? And hopefully tonight he's able to get another goal and pad his stats out, as you say, Dave, because he knows goal for himself. Got Paul joining us. Paul should be coming into the stream in a second, barring any sort of technical difficulty. Here he is. He's gone again. There he is. You're like, Paul, can you hear us, mate?
Yeah, I can hear you, boys. I haven't seen the lineup. Can one of you educate me, please?
Yeah, it's Pickford, Holgate, Godfrey, Keane, Luca Dean, Allan, Decore, Gomez, Sigurdsson, Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin. It looks like a diamond sort of 4-4-2, mate.
No Davies and no James Rodriguez?
No.
That's surprising. I thought Davies might drop out.
No, neither of those are in the team.
We were saying before, maybe he's keeping James back for West Brom, who sit a bit deeper. Obviously, that game's in 3 days' time, isn't it? So he probably a bit of a toss-up as to which one he'd play him, unless there was a knocking injury, in training or something of that nature.
I hope not, because James is another player who's picked up form again. I mean, he never really went off form, did he? But he looked at the absolute whale beater we all hoped he was going to be in the first couple of months of the season. Then he kind of had that lull sort of leveling out period. I know he's had injuries as well, which hasn't helped him. But the last couple of weeks, he's looked really, really on his fire again. So I'm hoping that, you are right, Dave, that it's just Ancelotti decided to rotate rather than any sort of knock or anything like that. Davies, I expected to come out because, as well as he's been doing, Allan is still the all-round better option for our midfield. And Allan's apparently been fit for at least a week now. So you've got to get him back in the team and get him some minutes, haven't you?
Yeah, and obviously neither James or Davies are on the bench tonight either. Paul, it's just Bernard looking like to be an option. King, Iwobi, they're the 3 main ones. Like you think maybe a threat coming off the bench if we need it. Nkunku's on the bench as well, and as Erwin Koeman says in the head, see when it comes up, and Kyle and Yango are all on the bench as well. There's quite a bit on the bench tonight.
Four youth players on the bench. I know Yango's managed to get himself on there the last month or so since he made his debut in the Cup. But Broadhead and Ashley and John have all got on as well. Good for them. I hope that's Carlo just giving them a bit of a taste of the match day experience rather than his hand being forced by injuries.
Yeah, it was interesting the other day as well because Broadhead got a hat-trick, didn't he, for the under-23s, and he's looked pretty sharp there as well. Obviously it is ultimately a different level, the under-23s to the Premier League. It's a different beast. He does look like a player in confidence at the moment, so it's nice to see him awarded a place on the bench there, like you say, getting a bit of first-team exposure.
Forgive me ignorance. Is Broadhead like an out-and-out number 9, or is he like a Richarlison where he comes in off the wing, or what is exactly his Broadhead's position long term?
Play anywhere off the front three, anywhere across that front three.
Could be interesting then, or hopefully if the game's going fine and we've got a substitute to spare, then it could be an option to throw on for 5 minutes at the end just to give him a taste. I mean, I definitely want to see Josh King tonight at some point. I mean, he's only here until May. We've got to use him at some point, and I want to see him do more than just get little 5-10 minute cameos here and there. Because has he played since United?
He hasn't, and I mean I don't know how true this is, but someone said he was he's short of fitness when he turns up at the squad. So it does make you think.
I don't think so.
I think you're a bit behind, Steve, with your connection. Sorry, Dave, what were you saying?
I was saying about, he did appear to be rumours where he was a bit short of fitness when he first came to the squad. Obviously, he hadn't played a lot for Bournemouth. I know he started to play, but, I think over November and December, he didn't have loads of game time. So I think you're right there. It'd be nice to see him now. And certainly we've got a few games coming thick and fast. So if we can get him on, making a difference. We talked about not having that impact off the bench. So, it'd be nice to see someone like him come off the bench and get a goal, just to give us that threat.
Yeah, and I'm not just saying this because I've got him in my fantasy team, but I want Calvert-Lewin to start against West Brom as well. I wouldn't want to play Calvert-Lewin for 90 minutes in this game if it means he can't start in 3 days. I'd like us to start Calvert-Lewin in both, and if you've got to take him off on the hour, then obviously it depends on how the game's going. If you're behind, then you can't take Calvert-Lewin off, really, can you? But ideally, I'd like Josh King to come on and play a good, solid 20 minutes at least, and save Calvert-Lewin's legs, hopefully. And if the game is won, then maybe throw on a couple of the youngsters and give them a taste. Maybe the likes of Nkunku. I mean, he's not played much since the new year, has he? If you want to save Dine a little bit, and maybe Holgate as well. Is Coleman on the bench?
I haven't even spotted there, Coleman on the bench. I'll have to have a look.
No, I don't think he is.
I'd imagine that's an injury then with Coleman, but I do definitely want to see some players get on the pitch and get some minutes who haven't really had any the past couple of months, and obviously the youngsters, if we're going to use them at any point in the future, you want to give them an experience, whether that's on Yango again or whether that's Broadhead or whoever. Just hopefully we're in a position basically that we can be luxurious with our substitutions tonight.
I think that it's interesting. I thought we finished really strongly against Liverpool the other day as well. Mentioned just before you came on about these, obviously with the high press. So we may see us go a bit longer again today. Maybe that.
Sure.
You're having a nightmare with your connection, Steve, mate. You'll know better than me, Dave, because I'm quite ignorant. Southampton, how big are their centre halves? Are we going to play long ball and let Calvert-Lewin get up in the air and bring it down, or are we better trying to play through them? Or
the big lads, aren't they? You've got Vestergaard there, who obviously he's a threat coming forwards on the set pieces. Salisso's no more there, and Berdnack as well. So it depends how they play. They might go 4 or a 3 when they've got possession. But Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, if we can get him round the sides and cause them issues, I don't think Vestergaard's the most mobile. So it'd be interesting to see if we can do similar to what we've done to Liverpool, where we did just get that, that quick ball up and then put them under pressure. Both of them lads have got pace. They're both powerful. They neither are shy physical wise as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if they really, if they did play them as a 2 up top, they really caused this Southampton backline some problems.
Did you say Iwobi was starting? Is he on the right and Richarlison's back on the left?
No, it's a 4-4-2. Diamond by looks things. Iwobi's on the bench. So he's got looks like Gomez is left centre mid, Takure right centre mid, Allan sitting and Sigurdsson in the front, the peak of that diamond.
Oh, that's interesting. We've only ever really seen Allan play deep, haven't we? So I wonder if him and Gomez or Takure, they're all going to interchange, or whether they're just going to all stick in the specific positions.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that lines up. I think when we've played that time, it does seem to be slightly flatter, doesn't it? So they almost become a 3 at times. And Sigurdsson tends to be the man that. I'm quite interested actually, because Ward-Prowse, we know, likes picking the ball off the back line. So similar to how we done it against Leeds, where they stopped Phillips getting on the ball. Sigurdsson almost and Richarlison dropped in to kind of prevent that ball into Phillips. I'll be interested to see if they do a similar thing tonight. Out of possession, Richarlison just drops back one and he just cuts off that possession line to stop Ward-Prowse influencing the game.
I am really happy that Allan's back, because we can't be given these little niggly fouls here and there, because I rate that Ward-Prowse, as you've just said, and he can whack a free kick, and I don't trust Pickford. Was it last season that was it against Southampton at Goodison last season where we got beat by a free kick, or am I thinking of another game? I know they got a penalty and they missed it, but Southampton get a free kick and score.
I'm trying to jog my memory, because we played them after the season had restarted again and got beat, didn't we? I'm trying to.
I don't think we did. Last season, I know we got beat earlier on in the season. When I think it was Godfrey's full debut, and he played it right back and had a bit of a poor game. But I remember last season after lockdown, we played them at Goodison, and I think it was 2-2. They missed a penalty.
That was it. Yeah,
they should have. They should have won the game. Like, we were very, very lucky scraping a draw in that. We were behind at one point, and
that was the Luca Dean cross ball, wasn't it? Where Richarlison took it down and finished out of nothing just before half time. That was the one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the game earlier on in the season at St Mary's last year, that was one of Silver's very few away wins. I think that. I think it was it. I'm not sure. I know we won it late. Was it Walcott? I know Walcott scored the winner at Watford, but we won it late at St Mary's because I remember Tom Davies going absolutely mad in the away end. It was a 2-1. I can't remember who scored on the day. I know Tom Davies did score in the first half. I can't remember who got the winning goal though.
The one last season.
Paul.
The two when we beat Southampton at St Mary's last season, Tom Davies scored the first half.
Yeah, I think Tom Davies scored a header at that other end away from the away supporters. And then I'm sure Richarlison scored because it came up on my little Instagram memories of like a while ago. I've like a memory, and it was like me posting a picture of Richarlison scoring at Southampton. So I'm guessing it was him.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, lads, I'm just looking at, you're talking about our bench being a bit slim on, a couple of the youth players backing it up. Looking at Saints' bench, I can only actually really recognise McCarthy on the bench and possibly Stevens. The rest of the names, I couldn't tell you between, any of them really. So they look like they're really short on the ground as well. I know they've got a few out. We mentioned obviously Romeo being out, potentially Romeo. Sorry, potentially that's a big thing, a big miss for them. Obviously, I'm glad Minamino's not playing because he's got a couple of goals in the last couple of games, and he would have almost been tested.
The team there, Dave, for Southampton tonight? Because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so they've got Fraser Forster in goal, Berdnach, Salisu, Vestergaard, Ryan Bertrands, James Ward-Prowse, Stuart Armstrong, always a handy player, Musa Gineppo, Nathan Redmond, and then they've got the two up top, Che Adams and Danny Ings.
So there's a few players that worry me a little bit. Ings obviously worries me. Redmond likes to have the odd good game every now and then. Salisu in defence, Southampton against Chelsea, I think it was a few weeks back. He looks like a decent player. Gineppo as well is pretty good at carrying the ball through midfield. So it's not like I know they're in bad form, but it's not like they've got they've got almost their first shot.
That's Che Adams as well. He's one of those strikers who never scores, but he scored in the 3-1 at St Mary's, didn't he? Earlier on the season. Yeah. So he's due a goal. I don't think he scored. Has he scored since?
If he hasn't, then
we'll have to find that out for us.
The one we've got to watch with Southampton as well. They're a bugger for getting down the side and cutting the ball back. So if Allan is playing at the deeper of the midfield, you'd like to see him be really switched on to that. They do seem to get down the side, and it's that quick ball back, and the centre forwards tend to drop off and look, to pass the ball in as opposed to head it in. And they obviously have runners from the edge of the box as well, like Ward-Prowse likes to get in there. So I think we've got to be really alive to that tonight. If they do get down the back, I'd like to see Allan being switched on to that and kind of defending that edge of the box where Tom Davies has done quite well at recently.
Redmond's a player.
We'll read a few. Go on, Paul. What were you going to say, mate?
I was just going to say, Redmond's a player who concerns me because, as you said, Steve, he's one of those players who likes to have an absolute worldy game, like 3 or 4 times a season, and it's always us. Those type of players always turn up for. He could score a world-class goal, and it could just basically take the game away from us. He's really, really good in spurts. So Dean, or whoever it is, whatever wing he's on, Dean or Holgate, they can't be having a slow night. Them, Holgate as well. We know what his concentration levels can be like. He's got to be absolutely on it today because that Redmond will be looking to feed Ings.
Well, I'll read a few comments. I took Erwin Koeman's advice and left and come back in, and now I think my connection's a little bit better now. It was Paul's fault. As soon as Paul came in, I was behind on everything. Davis is now a player that we all want in our squad. Erwin Koeman says how the tables turn. We did a video on our channel about Tom Davies, Dave, but I want to hear what you make of him, because he's unlucky to drop out the team tonight, to be fair, but how good has he been?
You know, I think he's been really good, and I've been one of the few that have stood by him from square one, sometimes with a bit of blind faith. But I think sometimes we don't learn from our lessons. You know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was one that, the fans just wrote off all the time, and eventually he come good. It hasn't helped him that he's had, 5 different managers, all different styles. He's been used in different systems, and he's never really had that continuity for such a young player. So it's really good now to see him understand his role. He's happy in the squad. He seems to be flourishing. You see the pictures in training, swinging a shirt around his head. He brings a bit of character to the team. Tom and Dom, they're like a little partnership. And to actually see him now taking games by the scruff of the neck almost. Certainly the Man United game. He had so much confidence on the ball, and the Liverpool game as well. He was getting the ball in tight positions, popping off one-touch passes, and he looked so comfortable on the ball. And at first, at the start of December, he looked like a bit of a breaker, where he was just being useful and making challenges and turning the ball over. But as it's gone on, he just seems to be getting better and better. And I think he's certainly playing more. I think that the Everton stacks this up when you look stat-wise, but he's certainly playing more forward balls again. He's taking a bit more, a few more chances. And it's great to see. That's exactly what we want. I don't think anyone wanted him to fail. I hope they didn't, but we want to see our young, Scouse local lads, they're living our dream. And it's great to see him flourishing now. Long may it continue. It's just fantastic.
It's brilliant to see, like you said, them pictures of him in training, swinging his top round, running around Finch Farm. It's amazing to see that he's actually happy as well. It's really good when you can tell that a player's actually happy, playing and stuff like that. And he's got a nice rest tonight. I'm sure he'll come back into the team against West Brom. Bruce Wayne in the chat has taken a break from being Batman, and he's asked what happened to James. I'm not sure, mate. I think he's probably going to come back into the team against West Brom. Me and Dave were talking a bit off camera that we think Ancelotti maybe favours him a little bit more, because West Brom will sit back a bit, and he could be the little spark we need to beat them. Erwin Koeman says, is DCL scoring tonight, we think? I hope so. He could do with a goal. As well, over on our Instagram, guys, I've got the post up there. If Calvert-Lewin scores any time tonight, we'll be giving away a mystery football shirt box. Seen that today on Instagram over there, Everton newsfeed on Instagram. So if you want to go and have a look, yeah, it's worth having a go. But Dave, DCL tonight could get a chance in there, because, as you said, the likes of Vestergaard, the centre backs, they're big defenders, and it helps to have someone good in the air against these, I think, doesn't it?
He'll score tonight. I think he's been obviously picked up that bit of a knock, but he looked sharp the other day. He was absolutely lightning. Did you see when Richarlison was breaking on the right and he won that penalty? He was in full. He didn't want to live with him. So I think he's full of confidence. He'll be buzzing tonight. I can see him certainly scoring. I don't think there's any doubt he'll cause Vestergaard a few problems tonight.
We had a question a bit earlier about Luca Dean, and the question was, does it worry you that sometimes Luca Dean is our best option going forward? Paul, I'll ask you this one, mate. Does it worry you? Because I can see why people are a bit hesitant about it, because he does sometimes seem like, James were talking about it when he signed his contract. Do you think that's down to him just being a top quality player, or just, we need a bit more energy forward?
No, it's just down to being a top player who can do both. As long as he's doing all his defensive duties well enough, then he can be as good as he wants going forward. Getting his he's putting pressure on the other forward players to chip in with the assists, the likes of Iwobi, the likes of Bernard. I know Richarlison's gets in amongst the goals as well. But I do agree with the general consensus that we have to spread out the creativity in the team. We need to get more players who are picking up goals and picking up assists. Every player who isn't a defender should be getting 3 or 4 goals a season, ideally, and maybe 3 or 4 assists as well. You'd want, because that's what all the top teams do. That's what Liverpool's midfield last season managed to do. That's what the great United teams did. That's what the great Chelsea teams have done. That's what City are doing now, essentially. So, I do get what people are saying, but as long as it's not impacting the way he defends, then I'm not bothered about Luka Dean getting forward and getting in amongst it with the assists and the goals.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'll just love to see him doing well because he's a brilliant player, and it's good to see that he's coming to his full potential. And as you said there, I know Michael Keane's had a few goals this season, but we do need to start spreading them about the team. Like, City against West Ham on Saturday, they got Stones and Diaz, the two goal scorers, and sometimes that's what you need, Dave, isn't it? You need to need players that often don't score the goals to pinch in and win you those games, because City, they're cruising towards the title now. And there was a time in that game on Saturday where they looked like West Ham could have gone on and beaten them, but you need those players to get, to pop up, don't you? And that's what Michael Keane's been doing this season, but I'd like to see a little bit more.
I think Paul nailed it, really. The start of this season, we were speaking on our podcast talking about we were too heavy reliant on Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin getting all the goals, and they were close to 30 goals last season, and then the drop off from that was huge. I think Bernard may have had 2, and we were really struggling. So Takura, straight away when he came in, he felt like he could score 5 or 6 goals for the season. I think he's got 3 so far. The Kegger man at the back, he's been coming up and getting the headers, and it's great to see. Can't help but hope that at some stage Godfrey gets one as well. It'd be lovely to see him bursting off to the corner flag celebrating. He's got close a couple of times. There was the one that Derby, it flashed across and hit his knee. I think he got a header down the other day, for an assist. So he's getting closer. He's in the box. He's a big lad. So I think, it's only a matter of time before he opens his account for us. He's the one I've got my eyes on at the moment. I think he was about 100 to 1. I think he was to score the other day. But, I can't help but think, he's due one, But, it's great to see. And it can only help us if them goals are getting spread around. And if we can get King back in the mix and scoring a few as well, then we've got every chance going into this back end of the season.
Yeah, and, Godfrey's one of them. We'd love to see him get a goal because he's become a fan favourite, and we love to see the fan favourites getting the goals. But we mentioned off camera as well, Allan hasn't scored a goal for Everton yet, from memory, I don't think. And with him, his bursting runs, he does like to take players on. So I'm just waiting for him to get one now, Dave. Yeah,
I think he's hit a couple of thunderbolts as well, hasn't he, before now, and they've gone in. So we're talking about Castillo. You remember Castillo, the Ecuadorian that we had we got, I don't know why, but we got talking about random Everton players, and we talked about that thunderbolt that he hit. So it'd be nice to see. I don't think Allan needs a written invitation. If the ball breaks for him, he'll have a go at goal. It'd be nice to see that as well.
Do you remember
I hope so.
John Heitinger?
Yeah.
Do you remember John Heitinger on YouTube as they're still up now? You can still watch these videos of him hitting absolute hell screamers, free kicks, 40 yards, just thunderbolts. And everyone was saying, I can't wait till he scores one of them for us. I can't wait till he scores one of them. And every free kick he took hit the wall or went flying into the top stand. I mean, he picked one up. He got 1 or 2 eventually. I always remember that one he got in the cup away at Bolton. But he was just one of those players where you thought, you know what, it's going to absolutely go off when he finally scores a belter goal when he hits the back of the net. And it just never really quite happens, at least not at Goodison. And I really hope Allan gets one, because I think of all the players we've signed in the past couple of months, he's the one who, when fans are back in the stadium, he's the one who's going to get the fans right up at Goodison. The way he plays, the way he goes into a tackle, the fact that he's very vocal on the pitch and he's geeing up his teammates and he's 100 mile an hour. I can just see the fans, when we're back in the stadium, falling in love with him and getting a song going really, really quick.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to get a goal, and hopefully it's when the fans are back in. And maybe he'll pop up with a really important one in the FA Cup final, Dave, something like that. I hope so. We've got James from the Babylon Blues in the chat. Mate, thanks for joining the stream. He was on our pre-match last week. Dave, you've got some following to do, because James was my guest on the Liverpool pre-match, and we were just talking the whole game about how scared we were, and we ended up winning. He says, great show, lads. Always knew we would have to sell our soul to the devil for a win there last week. Yeah, I don't think I've spoken to you, mate, since last week, but absolutely made up, still on an absolute high now, and hopefully we top it off with a win tonight. A couple more people saying there about Robin Olsen. I think 567 Martin in the chat says Davis, Coleman, James, and Olsen just being rested for West Brom. Carlo just confirmed. If that's true, then that's exactly what we predicted, Dave, is that, those players, Davis, Coleman, he obviously sees that we're going to need some players that are going to be able to break down. West Brom, Coleman being one of them, he just like to go forward from right back. Davis is on, he's bullet at the moment, isn't he, with Evertonians and James as well. So those players would be good to come in against West Brom, and hopefully we can get a few goals there and win the game. But I want to talk about Jordan Pickford as well, because Paul, me and you've been quite, you've criticised him quite a bit, but he's back in the team again tonight. He was in last week. Dave, come to you first. What have you made of his performance last week, and you're hoping he can replicate it tonight?
I was made up for him, I seen Megan Davidson, his missus, put after the game how made up she was. She put a post up about it, and it just felt. It just felt really that he was still carrying something from that last derby, and he needed this to just kind of add that release, to finally, and I think that for me was man of the match. Big saves, big moments. In actual fact, some of the criticisms that he's had and that I've probably said, at times, is that, sometimes he's not very calm in the box. His concentration can go amiss, but they were his two strengths at the weekend. His concentration was right up there. He was very calm. He kept picking. Whenever he got the ball, he dropped to the floor and just took his time. And it was nice to see. So I hope now that he can kick on. We all, again, we talk about wanting Everton players to succeed. No one wants to be right and write him off. Everyone wants Jordan to kick on. And he's a good lad. And I think we've missed him speaking to the back line as well. When we sit in the paddock, you can hear him screaming his head off. And he does bring that communication to the back four. I don't think he gets credit for that at times. It's all about consistency now, and he needs to make sure that every game that he's concentrating for the full 90 minutes and he's not letting any silly mistakes creep into his game. We all know he can do it. He's got the ability to, but it's over to you, Jordan, really now. It's I'm sure the fans will back him and want him to succeed.
Yeah, Paul, same thing, mate. I think we spoke about him on the post-match, didn't we, after the derby? But I was miles high in the air after that. I couldn't really give a very good. I couldn't really get my words out, but yeah, he came in. He was solid, as you said, Dave. That his weaknesses were last weekend. He was good at claiming the ball. He was vocal and all that sort of stuff. So, Paul, you happy that he's back in the team tonight?
I've got a problem with him being back in the team, but I still think Olsen didn't deserve dropping when he did. Is Olsen on the bench tonight, or did you say he's not on the bench either?
No, I think I think a couple of people talking about him being injured, so it must be Virginia.
So, because when you were saying before about how Carlo said certain players were getting rested for West Brom, and I think Olsen was lumped into that, I got my mind turning, thinking, I wonder if he's planning to play Olsen against West Brom, because the only reason you'd rest him tonight if he is getting rested is because you're going to play him and you don't want him going through the match warm-up. But Pickford, like Dave said, he did what he needed to do last week. He got the big performance that everyone was craving, and it was not only important for the club, it was important for himself and his own mental health. But did that make up for all the bad he's done in his Everton career so far? No, not for me. I'm still very much not a believer in Jordan Pickford for the long term, but I'd love to be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong. I don't want to be proved right, like Dave was saying. If Tom Davies can do it, then hopefully Pickford can do it as well. I'd love Pickford to come through this and end up going on to have a really great career. And looking back at this period, there's just a couple of mad seasons in his 20s, and he went on to be an Everton mainstay for a long time. But do I really think it's going to happen? Probably not. Do I think he deserves it? Judging on him right now in March 2020, based on everything we've seen so far, the answer is no. I still think we should be looking for a goalkeeper in the summer, a new number one. But you can't drop someone after a really good performance, can you? And as long as Carlo's willing to put faith in him, then I'm willing to put faith in him at least until the end of the season.
James Brinkley, who's joined the stream again. Thanks for joining. recently, been in a couple of the last few ones, James. Worried that our bench is so light at the moment. That first team's got a big job to do tonight. Hopefully it will be a big 3 points and a job well done. Dave, what sort of, how many sort of, from a rough number, do you think we should go out and try and have a big summer with a lot of signings to maybe move some players down into bench rotation? Or do you really think it's needed?
I've had some thoughts about this. I have been tossing and turning, but I think that we should be aiming really for 4 players again, 4 strong players and a couple of good young players again. I'd like to see a right back come in. I think we need a striker potentially if Moise Kean gets moved on. We're going to need a striker. Potentially we might find someone that can play right across that front three. I think we're going to need a more direct winger, like a Lozano, a Leon Bailey, that kind of character. And I think that we may, if we can move some of them centre midfielders on that likes of Delph and what have you, look at another athlete in that midfield similar to Takura who can go box to box, but probably that depends on Gbamin. I wouldn't be against another goalkeeper coming in. I have said about Pickford, but you've got to be ruthless at football. So whatever Carlo decides, if he decides that he wants to bring in a more steady, experienced keeper, then I can see the logic in that. But yeah, I'd say 4 to 5 players. I'd like to see the age kept down, and similar signings really to Godfrey. Good young athletic players that look like they've got a future, and the value's only going to go up. Carlo and Brand's done really well in the summer. I think they've got a good partnership going there, and hopefully, we start to do the business early now, and we're already looking to get some deals done. Hopefully.
Yeah, give us your shouts, guys, for the players you think Everton should be looking at in the summer, and we'll talk about whether we think the ones that we look at. When Koeman talking about Max Aarons, did a video on I did it on the channel a few days ago about Max Aarons being linked a little bit. Dave, is he one, as you said, similar to Godfrey? You don't get much similar than that, do you? But he one that you're excited for the summer. Hopefully that one can, that one comes out of the woodwork and maybe happens.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic signing, wouldn't it? He's exactly what we've needed. Brand's best work so far for me was replacing Leighton Baines. That was an impossible task. Leighton Baines just don't grow on trees, and I think Luca Dean is as close as you can get to Leighton Baines. Obviously, that summer we also bought Richarlison on the left, and I think the right needed that surgery as well. So I think it's a similar task again. He's Coleman's been a great servant. But we do need another right back now. Max Aarons definitely fits that bill. He's got a bit of everything. He's only a young lad, 5'11", so he's not exactly small, which I was shocked. I thought he was a lot smaller than that. But yeah, no, I think again, I'm a big believer in chemistry as well. I think that he knows Godfrey will settle in. He's part of a young dressing room there that are ambitious, and that's what we want. We don't want players coming in here like Snardlin, who are in here for to coast and think that they deserve to be in that first 11. We want young, hungry players who want to be who want to be at the very top, and that ultimately they'll help us go on our way as well. Aarons will no doubt have ambitions to play for England like Godfrey will, so get him in.
Yeah, you're bang on there, Dave, about the players that we've been signing, the players we need to sign. It feels now like, and you always see the dressing room videos after the game from like Iwobi and Nkunku and that of just the team bouncing around the dressing room. It seems like we've got a tight knit of players for the first time in a while, where they're all mates and they want to play, in the same team. They all love training with each other every day. So, and the fact that we're getting quite a few English players in the team as well, I didn't realise, but a lot of our team is English. There's Pickford, Keane, Holgate and Godfrey are 2 young centre-backs who were fantastic last weekend as well. But hopefully those 2, kick on. There's the likes of Anthony Gordon, players like that to come back off loan. So I think that is a big part of it, Paul. There has to be chemistry between the signings and not just signing any random players. And I think Marcel Brands has done quite a good job. Off the top of my head, I can't think of too many bad signings he's made, bar like the likes of Fabian Delph and stuff like that, who's not in the squad again tonight. He was on the bench for the defeat to Man City, and then he hasn't been seen since. So, Paul, how important to you there? Because I want to touch on that a little bit, what Dave said. How important is the chemistry in the team? Because we haven't had it a lot, but now seeing that we have it a bit more, you can notice the changes it makes.
it's massive. It's absolutely gargantuan in terms of getting to where you want to get to as a club when you want to challenge for things and compete at the top. No team I can think of has ever won a title or achieved something big, like ending a long trophy drought like it would be if we won something. If they were just all a gang of individuals and they were all just there playing for themselves, they've all got to be in sync with one another and really get along. What Dave said was nail on the head. Most of them are all of a similar age bracket, sort of early to mid 20s. Seems like they're all into like the same type of stuff, like fashion and music, and they all just love like sitting around in a changing room having a chat. A couple of years ago, there was that famous photo, wasn't there, of all the players just sat there on the phones, not communicating. And any new players who come into the any new players who are going to come into the dressing room have to sort of fit that personality click that's developed. Obviously, you can make the odd exception if a player's going to come in and just be an absolute bail beater, but you can't have characters who are just kind of reserved and play within themselves and don't really want to mix. I mean, Gareth Bale famously had that problem at Madrid, didn't he? With he's just said he just wouldn't make any effort at all to endear himself to his teammates. And
yeah, he was more interested in going play golf.
Not just that, but we've had examples at Everton as well over the last few years that you touched on, the likes of Schneiderlin, the likes of Ashley Williams, the likes of maybe to a lesser extent Bolasie, because I don't think he's a bad egg. Just players who've come to the club with a bit of an ego. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they've been in the game a while, they've been around a lot of places, they've sort of set in the ways a little bit. And maybe if you were to go to these players, Delph's the ultimate example. Do you remember when he was going mad at Aldgate, and show me some respect, you cheeky so-and-so? And it's like, hang on, show you some respect for what? Yeah, it's like, excuse me, who do you think you are? Do you know what I mean? You don't want players who are going to come in and sort of act like they're above that. They're above getting like in a big circle and having a joke and having a mess around. I mean, everyone's different, isn't it? But Moyes was something Moyes was really, really big on that. Bringing in the right characters to the dressing room. There were players who he really rated. We thought, I'm not going to bother here because I think they'll upset the harmony that I've got. Craig Bellamy was a famous example of that, and apparently so was Joey Barton. Yeah. Players we just thought, even if I think they can come in and do a job for a season, it's just going to detract ultimately from what I've already got because of their attitude. So I'm really glad that Brandon Ancelotti seems to have recognised that.
Yeah, you mentioned Delph there as well, Paul. He's just one we need to get out as soon as we can, I think, because he is stinking it up. And it's like the picture of him going around laughing with all the Man City teammates after we got beat, which done a people's heads in, and quite rightly so, because he doesn't seem to, really care at all. But it is nice to see, the likes of Holgate and Godfrey and Keane and those sorts of players. They've all sort of got their own. All the team is one, but even going on to like players like James seems to really be time with Yerry Mina as well at the club, and Richarlison and all those players, all these South American lads. There was the video, I don't know if you have seen it, the video on the Everton YouTube account of where they were asking each other questions in Spanish, it's a really, really good video. Go and watch it if you haven't already. There's the Bernard, Andre Gomez sort of crew, and then there's the English lads. It's good to see that we have got a lot of, there's a lot of chemistry between the team, and they like playing with each other. Even the players who aren't playing very much don't seem to be stinking the place out very much because they're happy, if that makes sense.
Look at the, sometimes as well, look at the leaders in the dressing room. You've got Coleman there. Coleman, someone who hasn't had anything handed to him on a plate. He's had to work for everything that he's got. He come in without a reputation. He went out on loan on Blackpool and he had to battle to be thought of seriously in a David Moyes side that was notoriously hard to get in. You look at Richarlison, he didn't have anything handed to him. He took a risk. I think it was his last trial that he finally got picked up on. He had to partly come from the streets. Nothing was given to him. And he recently got on record to talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin and how hard he's worked and where he is now as a product of his, the hard work that he's put into training. Davies, he's the same. He's played a lot of games, but he's had to battle to try and, really excel himself and get himself back in a position where people are taking him seriously, which they are now. So, Ben Godfrey, again, he seems like that type of player. Again, he's gone down to York, come back up. So, I think you're right there, Paul.
Godfrey got the knockback as well. I was reading a piece about him in The Athletic, I think, a few weeks ago. He got the knockback from a couple of teams and when he went on trial, and his dad basically had to put his arm around him and say, look, breaking into being a professional sportsman's hard. You need to keep at it. And I don't think he was on the verge of giving up, but he was very, very like down on himself that he'd failed the trial. And his dad, who famously played rugby league, just kind of gave him a bit of tough love and said, look, as long as you keep working hard and get your head down, then someone with some sense somewhere will probably give you the chance if you're good enough. And lo and behold, it's happened, hasn't it? So I agree 100%. Yeah, all these players who they seem like, even if they could have an easy life, they don't want an easy life. They like being challenged regularly. They like being stimulated. James, for all the glory he's had in his career, he doesn't seem like he's happy to just sit there and take the adulation. He wants to go out there and put an hard day's work in. It's a really good atmosphere, and you don't want a certain player coming in who's just going to ruin all of that. I mean, unless they're Ronaldo or Messi or Allan or Mbappe levels of good, you can't really be putting up with a character like that when what you've got already is going so well for you, and it's the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's nice to see as well. I think he's part of that Rio Ferdinand agency, what Holgate's in, where he gives them a lot of guidance as well, doesn't he? Because he was on the podcast with them last week, which is a really good listen. 567 Martin wants us to talk about Wilfried Zaha. Do you think the boat has passed on Wilfried Zaha, Dave?
Yeah, 100%. We've just been talking about young, hungry, upcoming players. You could have an argument that Zaha wants to do something in his career and win something, but I just don't see it. You know, it's a lot of you're gonna have to pay a lot of money. He's approaching 30 now. Maybe you could get him for 2-3 seasons, but is he worth that outlay? I'd be looking elsewhere now. Obviously, Eze's just come in for him. You know, he's the more the kind of character I think we should be looking for. But obviously, getting him from the Championship as opposed to paying a premium from Palace. But that type of player, the young, hungry player that wants to play for their international side, that's where we need to be looking. So for me, I think Zaha 3 years ago, maybe not now. I think that ship's well sailed.
That ship sailed so long ago. That ship sailed so long ago. It's not even in sight anymore. It's out at sea. I don't think he'll stay at Palace. I can see Zaha rocking up at somewhere like Leicester. Do you know if they get in the Champions League and they bank that money, that TV money, I can see him making a move to a top 4 club. But it's not going to be United for obvious reasons. I don't think Pep would want him. Liverpool, it's not out of the question, but maybe Klopp would want to go a bit younger. And Arsenal, no. Tottenham, no. I know he's been linked with both of them, but I just don't think they'd spend the money. I think because they're in London, Palace would charge them more. So I can see Zaha making the move, but I just don't think it's going to be to Everton. It'll be to a club that are in and around where we want to be, the top 4, top 6. But I think probably Leicester's your best bet. Zaha.
Yeah, I didn't realise how old he was. Like he is going on. He's getting up to 30 now, isn't he? So yeah, I think that one's passed for us, and I think we should be looking at younger players, as Dave and Paul both said. Boost Chan says, where do you see Gbamin fitting in? Paul, we've spoken about Gbamin a few times on the channel, and we were talking on Twitter the other day. Basically, where is he? Because you said as well, and you hit the nail on the head. You said, why aren't the club doing a little bit more to get him, ingrained within the fan base? There's no pictures of him on, training or getting back to full fitness. There's no sort of meet and greets with him before the pandemic. There's no sort of, watch the match for Gbamin or get your shirt signed by Gbamin or anything like that. It just doesn't. He does not seem to exist. He is an enigma.
He's like a lost cat, isn't he? I mean, just no one's seen him at all. He's completely out of sight, and it seems like the club are happy with that for some reason. It's sad, but I think something maybe there's more to it than the club are letting on. Maybe there's something else behind the scenes. I mean, I really would like it if he could come back and get his career going at Everton. But when you've been gone this long and there's been so little explanation as to where exactly you are and what the problem is, and I mean, I know we know what the problem is. We know what his injury was, but the club, it just feels like I've deliberately give us so little information about him that you can't help but think that there's something that they don't want to say specifically. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I've read too much into it, but I think anything we get out of Gbamin is it's sad. But I've already made me peace with the fact now that I don't think Gbamin will do anything here. Honestly, I'd love to be wrong. I really would. But
I'm
not expecting anything.
You're not the type of team to leave a player there, and I feel like there has got to be a reason behind it. Everton on Twitter are profoundly we love to post pictures of players. We love to do stuff like that. There seems there's always training photos that people are asking, can we have pictures of this player? Can we have pictures of this player? So many people ask for pictures of Gbamin and no one ever gets it. So unless there's some sort of everyone just bombards Everton's Twitter with show us pictures of Gbamin to prove he exists, there isn't. So it does make you think that maybe that has been something gone on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Dave, what have you made of him? Because I know obviously your lads bobblers have probably got their own opinions on him. But what's the general sort of feeling over there with him?
Well, we had Dave Prentice on our podcast the other week, actually, and Dave mentioned this. He said that Phil McNulty wanted to do a piece on Gbamin and had approached the club over doing that. And basically the feedback that came back was that Gbamin didn't want to do any interviews till he's back playing from a personal point of view. So, read into that what you will. It is a strange, it is a bit the curious case of Jean-Philippe Gbamin. I think that, there's elements of what Paul said there, will he ever play for us? It does make you question that. It must be terrible, the situation that he's gone through. But I do feel like sometimes we could do a bit more media-wise, a bit like you've already alluded on. We should really be doing all we can to try and, I don't know, at least connect him with the fans and keep him in the spotlight. At the end of the day, he's got a professional contract. So, whether that's his personal choice or not, he's paid a lot of money. So if the club want to do, a bit of media with him, then I think he should do it. So yeah, that's pretty much our thoughts, and hopefully he does succeed, but who knows, he might not ever play.
If what Dave Prentice has said is really accurate, I mean, I've got no reason to think why it wouldn't be, and it's Gbamin's choice to be kind of out of sight, out of mind as much as he has been, and I think he's been really badly advised. I think his agent or somebody needs to get hold of him and say, look, maybe I get that maybe you want to keep your privacy, or you want to not get fans overexcited when you don't feel ready to come back yet, but you really, really need to show your face now, because football's a very fast-moving game and you've been completely forgotten about. And a lot of supporters like me 2 minutes ago have already written you off. And if you don't want that to happen, then you need to kind of poke your head up and get talking and try and establish a relationship. But it's just, as you said, it's just there's so many little things that could go so far. Just a picture on Twitter of him even if he's just sat on the treatment table, literally, if it's just a picture of him smiling, it would go so far. It would get people to think, right, I know it's annoying that he's injured, but at least he's there at the training ground. He looks like he's really determined and he's happy to be here. It kind of just feels like he's some hostage that's been put in the cupboard. And if he's happy with that, if he's happy to be viewed by like that, then I don't know what's going through his head.
Yeah, you worry as well. He doesn't even seem to get seen anywhere, and we've got a lot of players who are very vocal on social media. Richarlison massively, he interacts with the fans. Calvert-Lewin does. Yerry Mina loves taking pictures with that Dan Donachie, doesn't he, in the medical room? Just like with his muscles out and all that. Yeah, and so you'd think someone would go, oh, but if you really put yourself out there, it's like, I'm gonna, be this. I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to see, all of you. I can't wait to be back in the stadium. You think then, maybe it's like he'd take that on board and he'd go, all right, yeah, I'll give it a go. I'll try and get myself on side with the supporters.
It's not just that. I mean, he doesn't have to be I want to be the centre of attention type person. It's all right with being a bit of a shrinking violet, but you've got to wonder what his teammates' opinion of him is. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no way I could possibly know this. You'd only know this if you worked at the training ground, but it wouldn't shock me if his teammates in the squad weren't even on a first team basis with him. Does he spend any time around them at all? Is he on his own in a room somewhere, just with a physio?
Some of us really know. No? Someone asked yeah.
I could genuinely, I can imagine in my head me saying to someone like Seamus Coleman or Holgate or Godfrey, what if I managed to have a conversation with them? what's that Gbamin like at the training ground? Like, what type of personality is he? They'd probably say, I know as much about him as
It
you.
would be a question I'd love to ask. I would love to see.
Now,
Diego Espo there says, any ideas on what happened to James? We think he's getting rested, mate. We've got 3 games in 8 days, so he's going to be one that we're going to save for West Brom, I think. Someone else in the chat says he's on Twitch right now playing PUBG, so yeah, he's obviously been told to rest up and get ready for the game against West Brom. Score predictions, lads, before we end the stream, because we're about to kick off.
2-1 Everton, Calvert-Lewin, and I'll go Luca Dean.
Go on, Dave.
2-0 for me. I think one of the centre halves will get an early goal, and TCL at some stage will get a bit of a tap in around the back of that back line.
I'll go for 3-1. Someone else said 3-1 there. Look, I can't pronounce your name. Someone else has said 3-1 to Everton. I'll go 3-1 as well. I think we'll Calvert score. I think one of the centre backs, as Dave said, Michael Keane probably will get a goal, and I think Sigurdsson to score a penalty as well. So that's my guess. But thank you for all watching the stream. Before you leave as well, we've got quite a few people in the stream now. Just drop a like on the stream. It's really not hard. It's completely free. And yeah, like the stream, really helps out the channel. Let's see how many we can get. And yeah, stay tuned to the Everton Twitter for all the updates during the match. I'm on match reaction duty tonight, so there'll be a video tonight of my reaction to the game. And if you have enjoyed it, obviously check out the cameras as well. You do some great work. Really good to check them out. And Dave, thanks for coming back on the stream, mate.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us again, lads. Up the Blues.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope it's an Everton win. Really do hope so. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next